Pizza was the Olympics. They're now muted this day. Where is that from? That's on National Pizza.
Okay,
I'll have to go get it.
Except for anchovies, which
oh,
is.
that's right, Moncas is National Living Day.
I disagree.
National Ice Cream Day.
Oh, how did, is it?
Why did? Good, good.
That would have been my day if I'd known.
Mr. Mike.
If I had known. Oh, Judy has. They moved it. Moved her postage.
Okay, so yeah, thank you. Thank you. It's probably more than
What a
one.
nice tie. I like your tie.
Thank you.
This time of
The
year.
third person that said that.
Well,
Yeah, it's okay.
that might be all though. You know,
Must be a hit.
7-3.
Okay.
Comes in free.
Yeah.
Yeah, either way.
It's, oh, right now, it was 8:59 when it went like this. All right, it's 9 o'clock. Please join us in I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which is one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Ms. Truitt?
Julie Bear,
Here.
Susan McAlpine,
Here.
Vance Miller,
Here.
Ashley Pascal,
Here.
Judy Selberg. She's here.
She's there. I wonder if she can hear her. Judy, can you hear us?
I'm thinking she can.
Judy?
Oh, she went.
Oh, she doesn't have her headset on.
Okay, where is Ashley? I
She's
heard
in
her
Lake
say here.
Havasu City.
Right, I heard her say here.
She's in the middle.
Oh, there she is, raising her hand. Thank you, Ashley. Everybody appears differently. Here's Judy, just Judy's, you know, like her mug shot. And there you are, the two of you. So Judy, can you hear us? Judy?
No, she's not here.
Uh-oh. Can we write her?
Well, we could, but by the time she reads it, it would just throw her off. She's looking. Judy? I'm gonna start using
It looks like she's typing.
I've thought of that, yeah. I've thought of using tape for it, and I've got a lot of tape for it. But we'll go ahead and start, and it'll probably dawn on her when she sees the little spot. At least she's there, and we'll get to anything. All right, approval of meeting minutes.
Motion to approve the draft minutes from the October 8th, 2021 meeting. Here in appendix 1.
Second.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Motion and second, any conversation about the minutes?
Can you hear me? Raise a finger.
Yes, we've been waiting.
Yeah, I
at
can't hear
for 5
you.
minutes. Okay, hold on.
Anybody hear us?
Ashley, can you hear us?
Yes.
Yes.
North, can you hear us? Yes, everybody can hear us. Thank you, thank you. Judy, you cannot hear us?
She cannot.
Something on her end.
So how do we handle this, Amy? What do we do? Just wait? Or do you think there's
We
a
need to
trick?
go out and come back in.
She'll figure it out. She's probably on something with that.
Judy, if you'll look in the chat, I'll chat with you directly and see if we can troubleshoot what's going on with you remotely.
Thank you,
I
Mark,
don't think she can
appreciate it.
anybody.
She can't hear me.
Well,
Can't hear.
So whatever Mark said, she didn't hear.
She ain't going anywhere.
Messenger.
can you have her cell? You want to send her a text maybe? That's probably where she's gonna go. And the easiest to see something. And we'll go ahead and move on for now. If we get to something we need to grab her for, we will. Okay, we have a motion, a second to approve the draft minutes. Any comments or changes? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are approved. Staff council report. Aaron,
Oh, that's 5 minutes.
where'd they go? Oh, I'm so used to Judy. Judy, can you read that or can you hear us?
She's still not on.
Okay, this is an opportunity for any citizen to address the board in any matter of concern to the citizen. The board will listen to the remarks but may not respond or answer questions. Unless the matter is already on the agenda for action, no action can be taken other than to instruct staff to include the matter in the future agenda.
Kevin, you're addressing at this point, during this time?
Presentation. Thank you. I hate to do that.
If the president of the board may limit the time for individual presentations, he may limit the total time for all presentations. Citizens wishing to comment will be limited to one opportunity to speak. If a citizen group wishes to speak on the same subject, the group should choose a representative to deliver the message. The chairperson may set a limit for organized group presentations and may set limits for each side when many persons request to speak on an agenda item. During the remote video conferencing meeting, the chair will query each campus for those who wish to speak.
Thank you. I hate to call on someone when they're not prepared and don't know they're gonna get stuck. Okay, North, anybody up there want to speak?
Madam Chair, there are no students on campus that wish to address the board.
Thank you very much. All right, down in Bullhead, I see Carolyn and Danette. The meeting, somewhere there they are, yep.
And Blaine Hamilton as well from our library.
Where's Blaine? I don't see him.
Wait, Blaine, he's in camo.
There he is. It's in the corner.
Oh, there you are. Hi, Blaine.
So he's wearing camo, so he just sort of blends into the flag behind him.
Yes. My favorite librarian.
I'm just kidding, he's wearing an MCC shirt. Madam Chair, there are no citizens who wish to address the board at this time.
Thank you. And when I say you're my favorite, that's only because I don't know the others. I'm sure I'd like them too. But you're so helpful all the time. I appreciate it, Blaine. Lake Havasu?
Madam Chair, there are no citizens here to address the board at this time.
Thank you, Maria. You look lovely today.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And in Kingman.
Madam Chair, no citizens wishing to address the board this morning.
Okay. well. All right, now before we move on, Judy, can you hear us?
No, you can't, no, you can't.
Okay, well, you can't talk out loud anymore, sweetheart.
She doesn't know that.
I can mute her, but then she'll have trouble unmuting.
Well, can you mute her and unmute her about every 3 or 5 minutes? No, okay. And Mark, how are we doing? Any progress there?
I don't think we can get over it.
I've emailed her. If someone can text her, and just ask her to look in the chat, I can help her out, but I haven't heard back from her yet.
And Amy has texted her, so we'll kind of watch for that. Thank you so much. Aaron, are you here? I didn't see him. That's why I was. Aaron Damian?
Oh, Mike is.
Kevin.
Aaron serves on my staff and
Now
he's
I'm
here
muted.
today.
But we do have a representative providing a staff report
And that would
down in
be-
Lake Havasu.
Uh-huh.
Hello, Madam Chair. My name is Kevin Smith. I'm the Vice President for the Staff Council. I'll be filling in for Aaron today.
Kevin?
So, Madam Chair, members of the board, and Dr. Klippenstein, Staff Council reviewed the results of the survey that we shared with the President's Cabinet and Executive Advisory Council last month on November 4th. We also had a couple of topics that we are forwarding to the employee compensation team at this time. That concludes my report.
Well, what took you so long? Good job, Kevin. Adam will be proud, and we are too. Thank you very much. Joanne Franz?
Thank you for,
Thank
can you
you
hear
for-
me now?
Yes.
No.
Yes,
Yes.
loud and clear, but.
Yes, okay.
My name is
Judy-
Jo,
Okay, hold on, Joanne. I'm really sorry about this.
no worries.
I muted her.
Okay, she's been muted for things she's never going to be heard from again. Now we're ready for you, Joanne. Thanks for your patience.
Thank you. My name is Joanne Franz. I'm the Vice President of the Faculty Council. Thank you for the privilege of letting me attend this meeting today. We discussed two topics. Faculty is looking at the policy and procedure regarding our faculty is looking at the policy and procedure regarding WR1, discussion and review of non-participation time of 3 weeks to a shorter interval was discussed in regards to the 8 and 12-week classes. The second item that we discussed were the policy and procedures of faculty overload, in particular to clarification of language regarding practices, grading, faculty ability. We want to ensure consistency of language to practical application of the policy and procedure. And that is it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sounded like two real heavy items. That's good to hear, something meaty. Appreciate it, Joanne, and appreciate your patience.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. ACCT and a CCT, McAlpine, Susan.
I have no report other than we've tried for a month to put together a meeting to get some reports, although I understand that Judy and President Klippenstein had gone to our conference in San Diego and should be reporting, although Judy is muted out, so we may not hear what she learned.
Well, let's try her. Can you move her, or can you open her up again or not? And,
I was open. Here I am.
well,
And now she can hear us.
she can hear us now?
You can hear us now, but
Yep, I'm here. Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, hooray.
Yes, hooray.
All right, you go ahead, please, and then Stacy's gonna follow up with you.
Yeah, okay. Well, I would first like to start off by telling you that the conference was very well organized and very pleasant. It was well attended, and the international side was conspicuous in its absence, but there was a great majority of people there. I mean, 1,200 is a lot of people, and the one thing that I was impressed with, first of all, was the way they had arranged the lanyards so that you could be comfortable, and they had set out lanyards. They had red ones and green ones and yellow ones, which told you that you were comfortable if you wore green and you would interact with people. And there were red ones which said, I'm not comfortable, don't touch me, I just want to go to the conference. And then there were yellow ones that said, I'm comfortable, but I'm not that comfortable. So all the greenies kind of sat together and all the reddies, but it was very well organized. So the first day I was there, I got on a bus and I went to Mesa Community College. And we did a tour of the culinary arts and also of the biology and the geology departments. And I'm not saying that we have that kind of resources, but there were two things that I was really impressed with. And one of them was the culinary arts sub-program. And Stacy and I had talked about that, where they had what to me looked like a Starbucks kind of enterprise. And they were selling gelato, and they were selling coffee and espresso and different kinds of coffees and teas and what have you. And it seemed it was very well run, and it seemed like it was very successful. At least that's what they told us, and I believe that. So Stacy, you can comment on that when it's your turn. But I think that we had talked about the fact that it would be probably something very interesting to try at one or more of the sites for the community college. So that was the first day. It was, and I got my badges and everything. And I also went to a legal update on COVID. It was interesting. It was mostly concerned with what they were doing with the different kinds of concerns and forms they were using to fill out for people that were uncomfortable and that did not want to get vaccinated. And so they were looking at exemptions and some of the situations that they were getting into, and the forms that they were using in the past didn't work for these kinds of situations. So, but all in all, it was a very interesting presentation. Of course, it's fluid and it changes every time you turn around. So now what we talked about wasn't really applicable to what we're having to deal with now, but Tracy can probably update us on that with OSHA and all that. But, and then Thursday, I went to a couple of them that were community-based and industrially based, and they were interesting because they talked about the collaboration between business and then another one on entrepreneurship, and talking about what would be a better system for businesses to be involved at the community college. And so the name of the session was interesting because it talked about the community college at the speed of industry and the ability to be fluid and to change and to work with the community. So it was very well done. I also did meeting needs of the manufacturing community through partnerships. So I sort of focused on the community, and then I ended my conference time with one on a review of the AJAA athletics. And it was actually, they were very glad to see me, and they were very complimentary about our initiation into that sports arena. So it was very pleasant, and it was all very positive. I didn't hear any negative, but that's probably how they planned it. But it was good for me to listen. So that was, I just sat and listened. I did not attend the large luncheon. I wasn't really comfortable. There were people wandering in and out, and it was expensive, and so I didn't. So I didn't. But the general session was, to me, was very interesting and very different because Dr. Harvey was his name. Yeah, William Harvey. Well, he came from Rhodesia, I think, is where he was president of a university there. And I couldn't quite figure out how he got there, but then as he went on and spoke, I could see how he moved from country to country and also from the United States. But he had an interesting background, and he actually got into some critical race theory, which was interesting because it was, people were kind of, you could see them stiffen up in their seats when he started his, that portion of his a dialogue and discussion, but I enjoyed listening to it from that standpoint. So, and I'll let Stacy take over because I know he went to some of them were in collaboration with what I was doing, but many of them were not. So, but it was very worthwhile, and I'm looking forward to next year in New York, I believe.
Thank you. And before Dr. K begins, I'd like to express our sincere appreciation to you for representing us and for giving a robust report. We know when we spend taxpayers' money on travel, we always ask the board member to return with a report. And we appreciate you doing that.
It was very worthwhile, Dr. Bear, it really was.
Does anyone want to guess what color her lanyard was?
I've got my booster shot. I am in good form.
You're not wearing your lanyard this morning, so we'll let you rest in privacy.
Yeah, right. Sadly enough, right. Yeah.
Thank you again, Judy.
Thank you.
Yeah, Madam Chair, members of the board, Judy, Dr. Selberg, it was a pleasure attending with you, and also the Arizona Community College trustee group, as well as college presidents and chancellors were well represented, and we had a great reception with Dave Borofsky and Chris Bustamante and all of us. So we do appreciate Dave putting that together. I was able to attend 2 different sessions on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Most of those dealt with new colleges dealing with new strategic plans and infusing in that work, or reestablishing what that work means to each college, but also how it dovetailed into board and board direction. There was 2 really, really good presentations on that. Also, like Judy, I attended, I think it was 3 workforce and regional or workforce type partnerships, industry, working with governments, working with the college, and reestablishing new partnerships to meet the workforce needs of their communities. And really, I would agree with Judy, really a different approach at each of the colleges, but it was to meet the speed of industry, not the speed of higher education. And it was, all of those had a similar theme. Also had a chance to attend and visit with a college president who has established about 5 years ago a leadership series, leadership academy for their employees, and I wanted to attend that and to see what they did and the why behind and their outcomes so far, which was very positive. So I'm excited for our Bighorn Leadership Academy to continue. Also, one of the sessions I attended, and this follows a little bit with what Judy said, it had to deal with student employment and work-based learning, but work-based learning on the campus. Entrepreneurship, exactly as she described. There's a college back in Ohio that students, when they come to the college, a lot of them are involved in working at different levels, but I think there's 12 or 13 different enterprises that the college has set up that the students get involved in, very similar to what Dr. Selberg mentioned. And it was really a neat approach. And as we continue to look at student employment on our campus and the future of that, I think there's a couple of really neat connections we can make with that. So that was very, very well done. And lastly, I did have a chance to spend some time with the Lucian folks and talk about our continued work with our ERP conversion. Overall, it was a very well attended, I thought, for coming off the pandemic. I know New York will probably have a few more next year. And overall, it was a very productive and educational experience. So,
Great.
Madam Chair, that's my report.
Time well spent, and you learned a lot, brought back a lot. And thank you for sharing your robust report. And you don't wear your lanyard today either, so I won't ask you either.
Done.
Done. Over with those lanyards. No more lanyard talk. All right, other reports. Susan, anything else you'd like to add for ACCT?
No, ma'am.
And Ashley, would you have anything about, Ashley wouldn't have anything about ACCT if, okay, I didn't know when, where, so, okay. Thank you. Oh. All right, back to Dr. K.
Yes, we are at the President's Report. Today, we will review the Mohave Minute, which we're really excited about, some good information on there. And then I will provide just a few updates on legislative priorities for AC4, which will then dovetail into AACCT. I think within the next few weeks, I hope, Trustee McAlpine, I hope that you receive something soon from Dave Borowski. So we will hopefully next week we'll have more information, and then just a quick update on listening sessions. So I will start with the Mohave Minute.
First up, student success story Heidi Romero. She's an MCC Foundation scholarship recipient receiving the Grace Neal Memorial Scholarship. She's an early childhood education student and hopes to eventually open her own daycare.
I wanted to work in childcare. I applied for daycares in the past and no one ever really seemed interested, but it seemed like once they knew I was attending school for early childhood education, then as soon as I applied, I got 2 interviews.
She ended up landing a job with the daycare where she wanted to work and says it's wonderful being able to use what she learns at MCC to help the kids in daycare. You can read more about Heidi in the college newsroom, the Mohave Wire. Just head to the MCC website, mohave.edu, then scroll down to the news and events section where you can click on Heidi's story. Romero was also a guest speaker at the college president's fall reception held at the Stetson Winery near Kingman. The MCC Foundation scholarship fundraiser included a...
It's all a today. They're all up getting pizza.
James, just keep going. You have it memorized, just keep going.
I have a feeling that might be Mark's screen because he always has some funny screen up.
Running over here.
Are you enjoying it?
It's amazing.
Best one ever. We missed a good spot.
First up, student success story Heidi Romero.
Well, imagine that.
In daycare. You can read more about Heidi in the college newsroom, the Mohave Wire. Just head to the MCC website, mohave.edu, then scroll down to the news and events section where you can click on Heidi's story. Romero was also a guest speaker at the college president's fall reception held at the Stetson Winery near Kingman. The MCC Foundation scholarship fundraiser included a silent auction featuring charcuterie boards from the culinary program. Money raised benefits the 50th Anniversary President's Endowment Scholarship Fund. The 50th Anniversary Gala will also help raise money for the Endowment Fund. It'll be held in December at the London Bridge Resort. Head to mohave.edu/MCC50Gala for more information and to purchase tickets for the event. In your alumni update, Sydney Jackson took dual enrollment classes at MCC while in high school and then pursued fashion and design. But she quickly realized that really wasn't her true passion. She changed course and came back to MCC where she graduated with a degree in social and behavioral science and now has a fulfilling career helping people as a hospice care consultant.
So I think that there's anybody who maybe grew up here, started at MCC doing dual enrollment classes, and then they go off on their way, and then maybe they decide they want to change their career path like I did, don't be afraid to go back and to just start over.
Keep an eye out in your local newspapers for more about Jackson's journey and the MCC Social and Behavioral Science Program.
Ready? Okay.
Go! Big Horns! Go! Big Horns! Go!
You got it, yes.
The MCC Student Leadership Series got off to a great start. Student leaders from all campuses attended the series. The Deans of Student and Community Engagement put together the event to help teach leadership skills that students can use throughout life. And speaking of leaders,
so yes, welcome to the Bighorn Leadership Academy and welcome to the class of 2022.
the Bighorn Leadership Academy started in October. This new academy educates MCC employees about various leadership concepts and aims to help shape future college leaders. Staff and faculty from many different departments are part of this inaugural class. Fall semester's been filled with a lot of events on and off campus. We're going to start with the College and Career Expo held at the Anderson Auto Group Fieldhouse in Bullhead City. Instructors and personnel from just about every MCC program and department were there to share the benefits and value of the college. 2,500 middle school and high school students from throughout the region were at the expo, which was hosted by the Colorado River Union High School District. A lot of events happening at the Havasu campus for Havasu Highlights, which promotes individual programs and departments each week. Some of the many recent events included a welding department demonstration, general education instructors put together an escape room experience, emergency medical services held free blood pressure checks, instructor Jacob Crawford dressed the part for a virtual grand tour of the old world. The Havasu campus also amped up the excitement for the London Bridge Days parade. They had a great turnout with employees and students showing their MCC spirit, community pride, and celebrating the 50th anniversary with hand fans and hats. The Kingman Campus College Computer Club MC4 held its annual gaming and pet food drive at the Kingman campus. All donations received went to Mutt Matchers, a local no-kill animal shelter. The Phoenix Truck Driving School at MCC held a career fair and anniversary barbecue party at the Kingman campus. They're celebrating the first year of the partnership with the college. Truck driving companies from around the region were at the event to speak with potential future employees. In the first year, the truck driving company graduated more than 100 students. A huge turnout for the MCC Pumpkin Fest events. Thousands of people showed up at the Bullhead City, Havasu, and Kingman campuses for games and candy in a family-friendly environment. There were a few haunted houses to up the Fright Night level, including one at the Detroit Avenue Center on Halloween. But of course, getting as much candy as possible was really the big draw for most. MCC art students showed off some of their works at the Day of the Dead art show held at the Beale Street Center. Congratulations to CJ Nelson, who took home first place. And last but not least, the MCC volunteer golf team turned out to support veterans at the Nucor Steel Charity Fundraiser Tournament. Money from the event benefits the Jerry Ambrose Veterans Council. Surprisingly, the MCC team actually came in under par in a very competitive field. Go Bighorns! Stay up to date with MCC at the College Online Newsroom and on social media. And remember, you can always see this newscast and other MCC videos on the college YouTube channel. All the social media and YouTube channel handles are Mohave CC. And be sure to share your MCC story with us at mcc@mohave.edu. And you could see it right here on the next newscast.
Again, very well done, James. Thank you very much to you and your crew. I always enjoy having Vanessa follow me around and take a video when I'm not looking. It all works.
Video editor over here, Kimball.
We need a close-up though next time.
I do want to, first of all, say thank you very much to our deans of campus and student engagement, Tremaine, for all the work they did on the Pumpkin Fest. Absolutely amazing work. The amount of people that came through and enjoyed their time, little kids to parents and And it was amazing. I think, what was it, 25,000 pieces of candy on each campus or something like that was given out. So very, very well done. Thank you all very much for that. Also want to say thank you to the foundation, Lynn, Sean, and also Amy with the October 8th event that we had up in Kingman at the Stetson Winery. Very well attended. We raised a little bit of money for the 50th anniversary President's Scholarship Endowment Fund that night. It was very, very well done, and thanks to their partnership. Also want to say thanks to everybody involved with the Career Expo down in Bullhead City. It always takes a lot of work, and we had a majority of the space within the field house and a lot of students come through, even eighth graders, which Gina and the Crush District are bringing in younger students to be able to come through and see all the programs we have. So again, very, very well done. Thank you for that. Moving forward on the Arizona Community College state level reports, just a couple items. The AC4 team meets next week, and that is Arizona Community College Coordinating Council, and that's all the 10 presidents and chancellors for the districts. We are meeting to have dialogue about the legislative priorities and hopefully wrap those up to be able to get those to AACCT soon. The big one is still on expenditure limitation, some general small changes. We consider small changes, but we'll see if the legislature considers it to be small changes. But one of those is changing the career and technical footsie weight from 1.3 to 2. And we'll see which way that goes. So that's one of those. The other one is still the non-credit to for credit comparison, but tracking non-credit enrollments in industry recognized credentialing areas to see how we can count those towards expenditure limitation. And there's a few other smaller items in there. Another one is to make sure that the community colleges, the 8 rural community colleges, continue to receive the permanent base adjustment that we received last year, which was 14 million to the 8 community colleges. And we do hope that that is in the upcoming legislative budget as that moves forward. So those are just a few of the legislative priorities that we'll be discussing next week and be bringing forth to you all through AACCT as well. Also on updates and current events, we are in the midst of listening sessions. We completed our community advisory council meetings on each of our campuses. We do appreciate the work that our deans of student and community engagement have done in getting people to attend those meetings, and they have been very well received and really good information. I hope at the next board meeting I can provide a little bit more of a summary report. We are still wrapping up, getting notes and reviewing through the president's cabinet as well, coming up soon. Also, we're in the midst of student and employee listening sessions starting actually the other day. Then we have 2 today, this afternoon here on the Kingman campus, and then also in Lake Havasu in Bullhead City next week. And again, we'll be reviewing those at the upcoming cabinet meeting, as well as some of you, I'm sure all of you know that we are about ready to celebrate our big 50th anniversary gala, which will be December 17th in Lake Havasu City. Please go to the website and purchase tickets. So, Madam Chair, that wraps up my report, and I'll stand for any questions or sit for any.
No need to stand. Ashley, any questions from you?
I don't have any questions. I just wanted to comment on a lot of the events that were included in the video. But I was so proud to see MCC and the London Bridge Days Parade, and it was such a presence, and stirred up some questions around with the people around me about the driving program. So I just thank you for doing that, and thank you for all the programs here in Lake Havasu and all of the campuses, but I haven't been able to attend many, but I think it's really important that we're in the community, engaged in the community, and welcoming the community onto campus. So thank you for all the work that goes into that.
Judy?
No, it's just, yeah, it's exciting. I love those. It's just very uplifting to watch. They're very well done, and I just want to thank everybody who contributes to them.
All right. Susan, any comments?
No comments, thank you.
None. The locals are quiet today. All right, Dr. Culver, you're next.
I think I will stand. We're gonna go from fun stuff to some data and information. So every year, as you know, we receive the AZ Strategic Vision Outcomes Report, which shows a couple of things. It shows the 33 metrics that are going to, that we use to measure our performance. There are performance metrics. There are performance metrics for access. There are performance metrics for completion, transfer rates. I'm tap dancing until they get this PowerPoint up. And there we go. Wonderful. This is also in your appendix 3. If you aren't aware of where it is in your agenda, but it's in your appendix 3. And so, and I'm going to drive, right, Freddie? Perfect. So this comes directly from the report, as you'll see, and it says, it tells about the different kinds of metrics that we are actually monitoring. And there are 12 access metrics. There are 18 transfer and completion metrics. And then there are 3 alignment with workforce needs metrics. So all the community colleges in the state are tracking these. So every year we send our data to Carrie Kisker with AC4, and she compiles a report, which you have as well in your appendix 3. What I wanted to talk today about was the so whats, right? So we have the data, we have the report, and I always call it the so whats. What are we going to do with that information? So what I was able to do at the request of Dr. Klippenstein was to take these metrics and to cluster them into themes. And so if we looked at all 33 metrics, it gives definitions, and you'll be able to see this in your report. But I've taken some of them and combined them. For instance, there are 3 or 4 transfer metrics, and I put them into 2 clusters, as you see there in the middle, under transfer and completion metrics. But what we're going to talk today about and to share with you would be how does MCC compare on these metrics with the rest of the state in both an 8 rural community college aspect and then all 10. And you can see we're going to look at things like developmental education, course success with progression. What that means is a student will take a developmental course, but then what happens to them after they take that developmental course? We're going to talk about the transfer rate, how our students transfer to other four-year schools or not. We're going to talk about one that we're most excited about would be occupational offerings and occupational enrollment. We don't do too badly in that area. So we're going to celebrate some things. We're also going to talk about some opportunities that we have. So here are what I'm calling MCC strengths. This might be a little difficult to see for some of you, but alternative course delivery. This means that we're delivering courses in other ways other than face-to-face, right? We're actually in the top 4 in the state with that and better than the statewide comparison. DevEd Math Success. And by the way, I've given you some examples there. If you see in the parenthetical behind that, that actually shows as an example that actually connects to our strategic planning goal. I did not do them for all of them, but I will tell you that they all connect to one of our strategic planning goals. DevEd Math Success, we're the 2nd highest in the state and better than the statewide comparison. Underserved populations for age and Pell classifications, we're in the top 3 and better than the state and national comparisons. And by the way, there are definitions of all of these in that report that's in your appendix. But for sake of time, we're clustering and trying to give you an overview, a high-level overview. Underserved race. Our percentage of students who identify as in the underserved race or ethnic category, we're at about 32% at the college, where the county's representation is about 22%. So we're about 10 points better. So we're going to take that as a win and continue to try to make it even a little better. College level gateway course. These would be courses, first English class, first psychology class, first speech class, first math class. Gateway courses is what we call them. We're near the top, better than the statewide and national comparisons. Progression of part-time learners. This would be part-time learners who achieve 24 hours by the end of year 2. We're the 4th highest in the state. and better than the statewide comparison, obviously. And here's the one that we are very, very, very proud about. Occupational degree offerings, we're first among the 8 rural colleges and tied for 3rd among all 10. What does this mean? It means that the offerings that we provide to students are in demand in our area. So if you look at our programs of study, we match what our area is demanding. So we're actually first among all 8 rurals and then 3rd among the state. So I'm going to stop there, see if there are any questions or comments about the things that I'm calling strengths, things we do well at. I'm guessing your questions are going to be about our opportunities.
Well, we're certainly, I'm sure I can speak for everyone in the room and everyone on screen that we're very, very pleased to see all these
Proud.
strengths. And proud and
Absolutely.
satisfied and more than satisfied. So it's hard to have questions about something that's working, isn't it?
That's absolutely right. And the other thing too is we're still striving to make these even better. So
Sure.
they're part of our strategic planning efforts.
It's also a very nice presentation tying that back to the strategic plan. So thank you.
Yes, perfect, thank you.
All right, so let's talk about some opportunities. So cost of attendance as a percentage of median household income. We're the 4th highest. So Dr. Klippenstein's been leading a lot of conversations recently about how do we look at our fee structure? How do we look at our tuition structure? And of course, you will see all of that early in the year for your approval, but having lots of intentional conversations about this particular metric. Developmental ed English success. We're near the bottom with that one, and that's a little puzzling to us because we're near the top with math. But what we find with English a lot of times, and Dr. Bluger's said this, what we find with English a lot of times is the students will get into they know they need math,
Yes.
but then they get into the English and reading and those kinds of courses and they go, oh, I don't really need this, I'm okay. And so they might drop the class or they might stop coming and the like, but still working on that one. One of the things I've asked the deans to do is to be very intentional about course success with the next year. During the next year, we have a dashboard that Matt and the IR team created that actually shows us course success and how we can be very intentional with that. Dev Ed course success was progression. That means they take a Dev Ed class, a developmental education class, and then they move on to something else. We're near the bottom on that one. And it's so something that we want to work on. AJAC attainment, meaning they get a general education certificate and, AJAC and transfer is another thing, but they get an AJAC certificate. We're near the bottom on that one as well. Completion, that they complete within 150% of time, which is the normal federal definition for that. And by the way, these are all based upon full-time learners, not part-time learners. So full-time learners, 150% of time is what that completion is based on. We're near the bottom on that one as well. Progression of full-time learners who achieve 42 hours by the end of year 2. Now, in a perfect world, they would be achieving 60 hours by the end of year 2, right? The state is using 42 as the baseline. Again, we're at the bottom. Retention, that would be first year retention rates of full-time, first-time learners near the bottom. Transfer rate, these would be students who actually get some coursework here and then transfer to a 4-year school near the bottom. Transfer attainment, what that means is transfer and get a degree. So they leave us, go somewhere else and get a degree near the bottom on that one as well. And then occupational footsie. You all know what footsie is, but students who are in occupational courses, we're near the bottom on that as well. So these are the ones, again, all of them connected to our strategic planning efforts, all of them being talked about regularly. You might be saying, what's the plan? One of the things that we thought of right away is we need to continue to raise awareness and share these metrics with all of our planning teams, divisions, departments, deans, everybody, so we can become intentional with them. I think during the strategic planning process, we recognize, I wasn't here, so I'll let somebody else say we did or we didn't. Sean, maybe. We recognize these performance indicators as very, very valuable, and we needed to use them as performance indicators in our strategic planning efforts. But we need to continue to remember these are the things that are key performance indicators that we're really working toward. We have shared this with strategic planning goal teams, with the deans, the area of interest coordinators, everybody on that list that you can see. And we've asked them to become intentional and start making action plans that are directly related to these goals. And not saying that they aren't already doing that in their strategic planning efforts, but we're just pushing a little bit harder to say, how can we become intentional, especially with course success and those kinds of things that the deans are working on. Something we haven't done, I don't think we have done, some of the planning teams have done, not all, but to make sure that we look at what our performance is in the interim, not wait for the report to come out in September, October every year, and then say, oh, that's where we are. You know, we're going to try to start managing these metrics in the interim. And of course, if we do all those things, we hope to improve our ranks, especially on those that are deemed opportunities. So I'll stop there, see if there are any questions, comments. Just wanted to share this because it comes out every September, October. You always see it in November, and we just wanted to provide some context for it. So in case you had questions.
I have a question, and we'll certainly poll everybody else. When you say developmental ed course success with progression, that means those who go on into a regular course. Okay, what is the success rate of those who do go on? Is there something you can show the bridge?
Yeah, there are numbers, and you actually, did you share the spreadsheet with them?
No.
Yeah, in that one report that has the PDF report of the vision metrics, it'll actually give you the numbers and the rates and all that in there. And I'd certainly be happy to have an offline conversation with you or provide it later that shows all of the specific numbers. I just categorized them for you today in here, but there are specific numbers and percentages.
And that, just that one chunk was all, I mean,
Yeah.
you said, but, and then the other thing I would like to comment on is if 42 hours is a 2 years, so we're talking 21 hours a year for 3 semesters or 2, that would be a full-time student, is that what I'm?
No, there's a conversation nationally about on-time completion.
Right, that's what.
Right.
Yeah.
And on-time completion would be 2 years with 60-ish hours.
60-ish hours, okay.
Right. But we know that that's not the reality today, especially with our community college students who have multiple priorities that they are trying to manage. And so, and if anybody knows the history of why the state chose 42, it's pre-Tim, pre-me. I don't know why they chose 42, but it's been that way for many years.
For footsie, it's 42 then, okay.
So footsie is still 30.
30.
Footsie is
They just
still
used the 42 for some purpose for this metric.
Yeah, I'm not sure of the history of why the state chose 42.
Okay.
But in a perfect world, it would be 60 hours in 2 years.
Right, okay. So this isn't a number you arbitrarily plugged in there.
It's the state decided that number.
Okay, thank you, that helps me clarify.
Does anybody know why? Anybody remember the history? No. Okay.
And some of us been around a long time.
I could find it out.
Who cares? I wasn't asking, that's my head. I just was curious. Okay, I'm looking out there and just so you know, Ashley, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yes, please, Madam Chair. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I'm trying to see where we are. There you are in the corner.
Okay. So the report that was attached to our packet had so much information. It was really great. And it was great to see the high points, of course, but I really appreciate the comparison slides. So thank you for doing that. I did have a comment. I think maybe 1 or 2 of the strengths I was hoping to also see as opportunities. For example, thank you. The category of the underserved population in terms of race. I just want to note that those population groups are also typically the most undercounted. So while I appreciate the comparison compared to our population in Mohave County, I just wanted to note that that count is probably low. And so we probably still have a lot of work to do in that area. And I see that as an opportunity while also celebrating the strength as well. So I wanted to comment on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. We had this conversation, actually internally about where does it go, right? Because we agree wholeheartedly with your comment. Just wanted to affirm that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Judy, are you have any comments? Or I was reading a chat she sent Mark that went on our screen a while ago saying she was going to leave for a while. So I'm not even sure she's here with us.
She's not back yet.
Okay, well then I won't ask her. I don't care what she wants to say. She lost out. She's not here. Susan.
I find it interesting that we're first among 8 rural colleges and occupational degree offerings, and yet our opportunities show we are among the worst in completion. So we need to start asking ourselves what happens and why.
That is exactly the kind of intentionality we need to inject into this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.
I get my job. I don't want to go back to school. Maybe I want to.
Yeah, but I mean, if they don't finish, they don't necessarily have that occupational skills completed yet.
Well, a couple of things to think about. One would be those completion metrics are based upon IPEDS cohorts for students who are first-time full-time degree seeking. Many of our occupational CTE students are stacking certificates or they're getting a certificate. So they're not counted in those numbers. Now, occupational footsie, that's a different story. Like if we have all of these programs and these offerings, why don't we have more students taking them, right? So that's part of the plan. With the Advanced Manufacturing Training Center, with the program expansion, regional partnerships, everything that Dr. Lacey's working on, he's going to talk about in a few minutes. It all connects, we think, it all connects logically.
Where does the student who's stacking certificates show in any of these reports? Or if they don't, when will they?
Yes, are you going to talk about AAS? You want me to mention? Sure. Okay. One of the things we hope to do in the near future is to create a degree pathway for those students who are stacking certificates and move them into an Associate of Applied Science in either entrepreneurship or business, and give them a pathway for degree that they currently do not have. Now, this is hot off the press, so don't tell anybody. This is in development, pinky promise, right? So this is in development right now, and it has not gone through our curriculum processes. It has not gone through, the faculty have agreed to move it forward. That's where we are with it. Is that helpful?
Under discussion, yes, sir.
Yes. Sorry, Kirk, if I butchered that.
Good. No, I was focusing on opportunities too, because I think that's where the greatest growth comes from. When you look at the importance of education today, or a trade, and I think this is where the college is really starting to blossom, be able, like we heard, be able to fill those needs that are in the community now, see ahead. That, is there a correlation, between what's happening in high school? I know when I was in high school, I didn't do too much.
Miss Judy, I want to check with her.
No, she didn't know me in high school. She didn't know me in high school.
Gotcha.
But it's the idea of, there are so many distractors out there today and things. It's just, I know it's a hard one to get your hands around because there's so many reasons why people don't. But it's if they could see the benefit, nothing's easy that is really good or worthwhile. And but I think this is amazing information that wasn't available as far as I know.
Right.
So I think this is another good data dump that we can use to help guide us and direct us, because we are here to serve those.
Right. One of the things we're doing, which I think you may have briefly heard about under our strategic plan, goal 2, is, and I don't know if Danette's still in the room there at Bullhead, but Danette and Jason Gee are running through a pilot right now with MALC 5th graders to continue to move them through the process to create those values and benefits. and perhaps make those values and benefits inherent in the way they think and the way they operate. And, oh yes, I'm going to college, right? And so once that pilot is complete, then what we hope to do is to invest with other middle schools and try to build our K-14 pipeline and grow our own. So that's part of our strategic planning goal too.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, comments? Looks
Thank you, Brady.
interesting and helpful. Mhm. Dr. Saw, are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, well, we're ready for you then.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. I have two updates for the board this morning. First, I'll start with the DEI update. I think all of you know that we've been working on this. And we have a task force that works with Claudia Schabel and Schabel Solutions. We are currently in our discovery phase of our overall DEI exploration for the college. And so if you recall, that discovery phase consists of a review of the demographic data that we have on students, employees, the community. So we're reviewing that data, but also conducting individual interviews and focus groups and work groups. And so the people that have been identified include students and employees that have been asked by Schabel Solutions to come in for those interviews. We have 65 in total. And of course, they represent, students, alumni, employees, former employees, as well as some external partners that we have. Ms. Schabel and her team is in the process of conducting those interviews. We actually have a meeting coming up that we will have with our task force, which is a group of 9 individuals, faculty, staff, administrators here, as well as we hope to invite those individuals that we have targeted for the work groups. So they can come in and understand the importance of completing the project and what we hope to gain from those interviews. But those work groups are the most in-depth part of the discovery phase because we have several target areas that we're really looking to understand a little bit better. Those categories that we have are identified as workplace culture, curricula, recruitment and retention of employees, student engagement, which includes engagement inside and outside the classroom, supplier diversity, who we're working with as far as purchases and who supplies our items that we use inside the classroom, and also communication, how we're doing as far as our communication with students, the methods of communication. Are they getting the message? Are we receiving back the feedback that we need to be better in these areas? And so all of this is, of course, the qualitative data that we will put in with that demographic data, the demographic data that we've collected. And then those results that we have will comprise the sort of executive summary that we hope to bring back to the college and the board in early spring. So we're looking forward to completing a lot of this work. We have had some hiccups as far as getting a lot of the interviews conducted, some snags as far as getting folks to schedule interviews and complete. So we're really hoping that with this upcoming meeting that we have with both the task force and those work group members, that we'll be able to get back on track so we don't lose any momentum in this area. So we do look to have that report though completed by early February at the latest at this time. That's our projected date.
Thank you.
But I'll entertain any questions at this time if you have any regarding the progress.
Ashley, any questions down along the river? Okay, I couldn't see that. I'm watching her too and I couldn't see it. Get that hair flying.
I do. I have several questions. What type of questions will be or are asked during this interview process? What sorts of things?
So we're looking to get some just kind of feedback on what everybody's thoughts are about diversity, equity, inclusion, how the college is doing in these areas. Well, first, what does that mean to that individual? And what do they also think is the college's role in sort of understanding DEI concept? Also, from the lens of a community college serving the community, you know, meeting the needs of business and industry, but also, of course, our students first and foremost. And we're looking to also get an understanding of how the public and our internal constituents view diversity from a sort of a holistic viewpoint. A lot of times what we're automatically assume is when we're looking at diversity, equity, and inclusion, we're thinking about just a couple of points, you know, race, ethnicity, gender, things like that. But, you know, as a community college, we're automatically diverse in many ways. And people don't always sort of understand that, especially in this area where we have a large first generation population. We're also on the verge of becoming a Hispanic serving institution. Those are some key and primary components that we're hoping people really sort of understand. But we also need to get a better lens of who we're serving and how we're serving them. And so that we also understand the many ways that our community and our students are diverse beyond the traditional thought patterns of diversity. So it's meant to be a very sort of robust, sort of ever evolving sort of conversation. The conversations can last anywhere between 30 and 60 minutes. I do understand that you are on that list. I'm not sure if you've been contacted yet or have done your interview as one of the external constituents.
Plan, how much?
But it is based to be more of a sort of a conversation. But it's
Got a list.
good list.
Probably on a long list.
No, there are 65 folks. They're a good list.
You would say more other good people.
But the other thing that we're hoping to get from these interviews is the wide range of thoughts that exist in our community. Because we also want to make sure that we're doing you know, what's best for our community, and we're taking in all of that feedback so that we understand what our community expects of us as far as hitting on these subjects, but also what our students need from us.
So you're obviously still in the process, because my next question was going to be, of the number of people, the 65 you've invited, how many actually participated? But you're not through the 65?
Not through yet, yeah.
So you're about 25% are participating?
I would say we're about 25% of the way through. And we'll definitely learn more next week when we meet again with Claudia. She comes in to those meetings with the task force. We meet about once a month with her specifically. So we hope to get more of an update on where we are with those initial interviews, because there's an interview phase, then there's the focus group phase, and then this work group phase, which is the most sort of intentional part of the process. So we are hoping to get more of an update from her.
But out of, say, 20 individuals, have all participated? Have 50%? You know, I'm looking at how many said yes, how many said no, out of what you've done so far.
I don't exactly have those numbers just yet, but I could definitely get those to you.
Next meeting. Who's to start?
Probably sooner than that, but after next Friday for sure.
Okay, no rush. And the last thing that I had a question about is, in the past, there's been a real focus on utilizing community merchants, community resources to purchase things. Do you think any of this is going to have an impact on that or change that in any way?
I'm not exactly sure. I think when that supplier, when the supplier group kind of gets together, we'll sort of understand a little bit more about where we currently are as far as who we're utilizing for certain things. We have a lot of long-standing relationships. I'm not entirely sure that impacts so much that in a negative way that we should start to look outside for a lot of things. But it'll be interesting to see what that work group kind of comes up with.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And your security report, do you have another item here?
Yes, ma'am. So I'm sure everybody knows that we also have to, as part of our receiving federal funds, we have to do an annual security report. It's known as the Gene Cleary Disclosure of Campus and Security Policy and Campus Crime Statistics Act. And so every college university that receives federal funding has to do this. And essentially it's a collection of statistics, crime statistics. And these crimes are defined by the federal government in several areas. They're sort of major areas though. So we're talking about murder, homicide, forcible sex offenses, vehicle theft and robbery, those sorts of things. So, and then we also collect information on things like liquor law violations and drug law violations when it comes to student conduct issues and things like that. So you should be happy to know that we continue to be very safe in this regard. One of the safest, of course, in the state. There's no reason for concern or anything. All of our numbers continue to be 0.0000000. Where there may be one or two reports, they tend to come from the external parts of our college. So we report statistics based on what happens inside the college grounds, but also right adjacent. So understanding that we are in specific areas in the city, there are things that may happen across the street at the apartment complex or things that may happen, on the sidewalk or on the street or something like that. That also gets reported in this report. I believe we have one instance in Bullhead City from last calendar year of vandalism or something like that. It could be graffiti or whatever the case may be, but that also gets counted. But we remain one of the safest. No reason for cause or alarm in that regard. This is very important information because, as you know, students, employees want to know how safe is that campus that I'm going to, especially parents want to know. And as we move forward into athletics and different ventures and some of our programs grow, parents and students will want to know, well, what about that campus that I'm going to? How many incidents of this have they had? And they can easily go on both our website, on our campus safety page, as well as compare information on the federal websites that we remain to be a very, very safe campus.
Super. Thank you very much for both those reports. Dr. Culver, back to you. 2 reports coming out of your area.
Yes, Madam Chair and board members, Dr. Klippenstein.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Yes, I'm so sorry. Couldn't see any questions coming.
Sorry. I just have a question. As far as security, do we track, obviously, breaches to our security? Do we have any instances where student data has been, I don't want to say hijacked, but hacked into or released to perhaps outside agencies or individuals who are looking for data? Is that part of that?
This is not a part of that, but we do that. That's part of our information technology division. Mark and his team definitely tracks that.
And they report it when
Correct.
some experts, we've
Yes.
had notifications.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah.
No problem.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, board members, Dr. Klippenstein, we have 2 reports today. The first one coming from Dr. Kirk Lacey. It's an update of the regional partnership development work he's been doing over the past 9 months, first 9 months. And then following that report, Dean Masterson will update you on enrollment.
Thank you. Welcome, Dr. Lacey.
Well, thank you.
Nice to see you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, I'm so excited to be able to share some updates with you about some really exciting developments and progress that's been made over the last 10 months now that I've been in this position as the Dean of Workforce and Regional Partnership Development, particularly focused on cultivating a new vision and future directions for MCC's corporate and community education programs, as well as setting in motion a really exciting new initiative for cultivating regional workforce development partnerships throughout the county. To give you an organizational context of how workforce and regional partnership fits into the college's structure and operations, as you know, there's 3 instructional divisions within the college. There's general education and transfer programs, there's health professions, and there's workforce and regional partnerships. And within that, we have the career and technical education programs, we have non-credit corporate and community education programs, and we have the small business development center under this division. From a strategic leadership standpoint, what we've set in motion over the last 10 months is to focus this new division of workforce and regional partnership development on serving how do we best help the college serve the priority workforce, career, and lifelong learning needs of MCC students, employers, and communities. And that's really the focus of what this division is all about. And as Dr. Culver will appreciate, it ultimately comes through a process of a 3-prong approach. And the 3-prong approach is aligning the 3 Ps that are outlined here of first, strategically engaging in coordinated outreach to both internal and external stakeholders as partners. As you might imagine, every campus, Kingman, Lake Havasu City, Bullhead City, the North Campus, and other communities throughout the county all have internal and external stakeholders who are partners in this effort to help us identify the second P, which are what are our priorities for workforce, lifelong learning, and career development throughout the county. So as we engage our stakeholders, internal and external stakeholders in these discussions, we're ultimately trying to define that second pillar, the second prong, which is what are our priorities for how do we serve and fulfill our college mission, our vision, our values, and our strategic planning goals to define the workforce, career, and lifelong learning priorities of our students, of our employers, and our communities. Once we define what those priorities are, then we can compare that to our academic and program portfolio, which is the third pillar. What are the programs that we have to serve those priority needs? What are the programs that are needed that we don't yet have? And how do we set in motion a strategy to develop those programs so that we are fulfilling the broad spectrum of workforce, career, and lifelong learning needs of the residents throughout Mohave County? One of the key things that I wanted to highlight here before I move on to share with you the updates and the progress that we've made over the last 10 months is the unique role of corporate and community education, which is what I'm going to focus on in the next few minutes. The unique role of corporate and community education as part of the portfolio of the college that is unique to the other instructional divisions, and that it is focused on non-credit programs and services. And so I wanted to ask the question, when was the last time that we, as a governing board, as a college, as a community, have really taken an in-depth discussion of what is the role of non-credit training and programs and services that needs to serve the county's education and training needs? What role does non-credit play? And how does that fit into the bigger mix? If we look at the mission and vision of the college, improving lives and improving communities, it doesn't say improve lives and improve communities just through credit, certificates, and degree programs. When we look at the strategic plan for the college, we talk about enrollment for all. Well, it includes enrollment for non-credit participants as well. And how are we setting up strategies and objectives and resources to serve the non-credit participants that throughout the county who can benefit from education and training on the non-credit side? Same with academic and workforce development partnerships in strategy 2. There are a huge universe of opportunities for non-credit academic programs and partnerships that also complement what we can do on the credit side. You go through the whole list of the other objectives in our strategic plan, and you could say the same thing. But what I wanted to kick off in our discussion today was to pose that question and hopefully have ongoing increased scope of dialogue with you and with the stakeholders that are part of Pillar One as our partners to really define what the power and potential of the non-credit side of our operations as a college can be and needs to be in order to successfully fulfill our mission, our vision, and our strategic planning goals. So I asked the next question is, when you think of corporate and community education for MCC, what do you think of? What does that mean to you? What has it been? What is it now? And my guess is that what's appearing here on the screen is likely what comes to mind, is a lot of community education, personal enrichment, lifelong learning, which is very important for a community college to offer personal enrichment and lifelong learning community education offerings for serving the community education needs of Mohave County residents. Life and leisure, health and wellness, arts and crafts, IT and computer technology. These are the types of courses that you most likely think about because that's what community and corporate education has historically been offering. We also get encounters where businesses come to us and say they have a particular need. And we, as part of our mission, we want to be responsive to those needs and say, okay, we can develop and deliver a customized training solution for you to serve your workforce needs. But historically and up to the current present, that has been more of a reactive function of the college, where employers come to us and then we respond. And so as we kind of take stock of what we've been in corporate and community education and what we can be, what we should be moving forward, new vision and future directions of corporate and community education, what are the things that we haven't been doing or that we haven't been doing as much as we can and should be doing if we're truly filling the full scope of the power and potential of non-credit education and training programs for the college. So I would suggest that moving forward, future directions is going to focus a lot more on the corporate education side as we continue to offer our community education, personal enrichment, and lifelong learning. These are still very valuable and important aspects of what we offer the county as a college. But more on the corporate side, workforce development partnerships, corporate education and training for two dimensions. One audience is those employers who are looking to start their business, support their business development, strategically grow their business. Employers have very unique corporate education needs that the college needs to be proactively serving. We also have individuals throughout Mohave County who can benefit from the corporate education side in terms of professional and career development training and education programs that aren't personal enrichment. It's not the lifelong learning. It's helping an individual enter into a career and strategically advance their career through professional development training. So when we look at opportunities for customized training with employers, a business idea center, innovation, development, expansion, and advancement, a corporate college type of dynamic where individual employers and businesses can come to MCC and say, look, we have these training needs. We don't have an HR training division of our own. We want MCC to be our corporate college. We want MCC to be our training division within our organization. And how many business partners can we sign on to serve them in that way? Professional certificate programs, strategically leveraging in significantly new ways our small business development center consulting as an arm of the college's efforts to help businesses start up successfully and grow and expand successfully. So several different ways that on the corporate side, building and adding value to this portfolio on top of what we've historically done in the personal enrichment and lifelong learning side will be a monumentally different dimension of what this college is doing to serve the needs of our county. So how do we get there? If we're trying to aspire towards a significantly different scope of programs and services under corporate and community education, I'd like to say this way. You can't travel to outer space in a motorboat. You need a different vehicle. You need a different entity. You have to have the organizational infrastructure and capacity to get to where you're trying to go. So we've spent the last 10 months fully reorganizing our corporate and community education infrastructure. And part of that was in May, we contracted with a national consultant from the LEARN organization. LEARN is an organization that specializes in corporate and community education programming nationwide. They have a programming model that's a business model for driving the type of vision that I just described to you. So we contracted with this consultant. They came in, they did an intensive full week training seminar and institute for all of our team. All of our team has now gone through that institute and passed a national exam to become a certified program management professional for continuing education. And we now have the same training model and operational business model to now drive us forward in ways that we've never had before. We also adopted a new software platform called Lumens. The Lumens software platform is specific to building and growing and tracking and assessing outcomes related to this type of a business model that I just described. And it is fully aligned with the Learn business model that we've just gone through the certification process. So we now have the technological infrastructure to plan, manage, implement, assess, report, track, and continuously improve corporate and community education programs in ways that we haven't done before. So what does this look like moving forward, different than what you might have experienced in the past? Well, we set on the far left side, you can see the different types of programs that we might build a programmatic portfolio on the non-credit side, both personal enrichment, lifelong learning, and corporate and professional development training programs. We will start the planning process by setting specific monthly, quarterly, and annual revenue goals. What is our business model aspiring to achieve from a revenue standpoint? Then from that, we identify what are the number of course offerings, events, activities, seminars, conferences, et cetera, that we need to actually plan in order to achieve those revenue goals. Then, how many participants do we need to have enroll in those offerings in order to achieve those revenue goals? What is the bare minimum that we need to have for a participation and a fee basis to cover the costs of our offerings and to generate some level of incremental revenue to continue to strategically grow our portfolio of offerings? What's that go, no-go minimum that we need to make in order to decide, are we going to go ahead and deliver that class, or do we need to cancel and reschedule? From that, we then can use Lumens to help us track and report on these outcomes in different way. We can say weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually, how many classes did we offer versus how many did we plan to offer? Or did we say that we needed to try to offer? How many actually were offered? How many classes and events were canceled? What was the actual number of participants versus our target number of participants? What is the actual revenue versus our targeted goal revenue? And how does that all compare? A business model says we need to have a certain amount of investment to develop and produce our offerings. So what are the production costs associated with organizing, developing, and staffing and delivering the different offerings that we have? What is the investment that's necessary from a promotional cost standpoint? So how do we help the residents of Mohave County understand these are the scope of offerings that we have available as a college to serve personal enrichment needs, lifelong learning needs, professional development needs, corporate training needs? How do we help them become aware that this is part of what the college can offer? We have to have a marketing plan. We have to have promotions that help people become aware of these offerings and to get them engaged and participating on a regular basis. So how do we cover our production costs, our promotion costs, which are our total direct costs? And then how do we make sure that we're breaking even, that we're covering those costs, and that we then have an incremental revenue stream on top of not just a break-even point, but some level of revenue to reinvest in strategically expanding our offerings. So this is the business model that we will be following, which is very different. So let me switch gears real quick for just another couple minutes, and because I was asked to also share information about this new partnership development initiative that we've taken on. We have partnered with Arizona at Work and with the county, Mohave County Economic Development Office and the college as 3 county-wide stakeholders that all have a common mission to support business, economic, and workforce development needs of Mohave County. We've formally partnered together and now are doing outreach to community leaders, government, education, business, industry associations, and community leaders in communities throughout the county, but specifically partnered with the Chambers of Commerce in Lake Havasu City and Kingman and Bullhead City and the U-Zona Chamber up north with the North Campus. And we have rallied around this strategic initiative that I'm about to give you a very brief overview of.
Take a breath.
So
Okay.
top to bottom, left to right. Top is what are the business and industry employers' priority workforce needs for their business startup, their business development, and their business expansion. That's the workforce demand that's there in Mohave County. At the bottom, we have the individuals, our employees and our students as customers who can benefit from career entry opportunities, career transition opportunities, career advancement opportunities. And how do we build that black pillar in the middle? How do we build a bridge that strategically brings our employer workforce demand and our employee student workforce supply together to fill the priority workforce gaps that exist in our county? On the left side, we have 22 occupational areas. You pick any job that exists, they fit into one of these 22 categories. On the right side, you have these 20 industry sectors. You take any employer that exists out there that has a business, and they fit into one of these categories. So what we did was we took data analysis with MCC, which is a software platform that we have as the college to do labor market information analysis. And we said, okay, what is the regional workforce demand throughout Mohave County across these 22 occupation sectors and across these 20 categories of employers? And what are the priority areas of focus for workforce demand gaps that exist throughout the county? What are the top occupational areas that are in highest demand? What are the top job titles, the industry sectors, the employers who employ those positions? And we've now started to engage employers in these different industry sectors in a dialogue about, can we use apprenticeships as a partnership model to bring together the college and our high school partners and other university partners together with those employers around these high demand workforce occupational need areas and say, we can team up with the employer who can provide quality on the job training and mentorship on the job while someone's employed as an apprentice, while we simultaneously provide the instruction and the training that goes along with and complements that, what they're learning on the job. And it's apprenticeship design as a way to partner the education partner and the employer around a workforce training and development system. And that's what we're beginning to cultivate. So quickly, out of these 22 categories of job occupational demands, we identified the top 12 out of the 22 that are projected to be in highest demand, as well as high wage opportunities for helping individuals get into a career path that has a high living wage opportunity. Out of those top 12, we reduced it to 6 areas of focus, priority areas of focus. And I know it says top 5 on there. You'll see in the last slide why there's actually a 6th one. But out of those top 12, we really collapsed those into these top 6. So if you take the occupations related to business, sales, office, and operations management, those are actually 4 separate categories of occupational areas that all have a common theme of business management. So at business management occupational demand, all of them are in the high demand categories, and most of them are in the high wage categories. And so this is one area that we're going to be focusing on. And the other benefit of this category is that if you think about healthcare or IT or manufacturing or construction trades, these other separate industry sectors, they all have business and operational management needs in terms of their workforce. All industry sectors can benefit by having us focus on training programs that cover these occupations. The others, health professions, construction trades and transportation, computer and IT, culinary arts. Culinary arts, food preparation and service-related occupations, the highest demand across all communities across the entire county. And in terms of employers' workforce needs. And we have a phenomenal culinary arts program that's just been redesigned that can begin to serve that highest demand area that's impacted so many employers around the county. Also, obviously, as we progress towards launching the Advanced Manufacturing Training Center, particularly in the Kingman area, and the projected growth for manufacturing-related employer workforce needs, particularly in Kingman, that's where the number 6 got added in. So I won't go into a lot of detail here. This is the apprenticeship training model that we're bringing in front of employers right now. I'll have an opportunity in February to give you a much more in-depth briefing on how this is actually coming together and which projects are moving forward with community partners and employer partners and industry association partners. Between now and February, we'll actually have some exciting projects actually up and running that we can point to as success stories. But it's all about bringing the government, education, community, and employer partners together to design customized training programs in partnership to serve priority workforce needs locally. And then through those apprenticeship training programs, build these career ladder pathways that allow individuals to get into a career pathway, allow them to go through career promotion, professional development, career transitions and advancement opportunities, all while serving employers' priority workforce needs. So let me stop there and thank you for letting me give this update. It's really exciting to see how much progress has been made in 10 short months and so much potential of what's ahead for us in these areas, and happy to answer questions or to take any feedback or suggestions that you may have.
First of all, I'm sure we all can say the same thing, but wonderful report and so comprehensive. You just got so much out, and I loved your slideshow. We got it early from Amy, so it was helpful. We'll start with Ashley, and then we'll come over to you, Susan, that way you can get the screen done. Ashley, anything particular you would like to add or question?
I am really happy to see this, and I appreciate, when I first looked at the slides, there was a lot going on, so I appreciate you quickly but thoroughly going through that. I guess it's great. I wondered if as part of these conversations, there's sort of future thinking for those types of jobs that we don't even know will exist yet. Where is that conversation happening?
Great question. And so as we have these discussions with community leaders and employers, these different convenings, ultimately, those types of needs and opportunities that's where those needs and opportunities surface onto the table. And so in addition to their existing positions and jobs and demands, they also have the ability to have those discussions of what is on the horizon. Where do they see changes in their industry sector, in their business operations, in what's happening in the economy and what's happening in the nation? What are the changing jobs that aren't, as you said, aren't even part of the system now, but we know in 2 years and 3 years and 5 years, these whole job areas are going to be brand new, but how do we prepare for that? It's a similar type of discussion, though, of how do we team up and develop a solid training and workforce development system that helps individuals get trained for those new careers and into those positions as they are created.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you, Ashley.
I have a lot, but some of it could be answered really quickly. One of the first things that ran through my head is that obviously we need to work with the legislature to recognize, this, to recognize it as far as funding is concerned. When we talk about, FITSE and things like that, this I can see becoming almost its own college in itself. College of Medicine, College of Veterinary Medicine, and this is workforce development. Some things that were running through my head, there were past issues, is, please make sure when you do this no-go decision that you do it early in the process. In the past, there's been lots of concerns about students starting down the road and then the course is canceled and they can't complete, maybe at a later date, maybe never. So that's an important thing for students and people that I know in the community. The other thing that was in the past, whenever we had continuing education type programs, there were lots of complaints that people who wanted to take a course were channeled into general ed. They have to take English, they have to take math, they have to do this, they have to do that. All they wanted was a course. So we really need to be able to promote that with individuals as well as the businesses that you're working with. And as far as this, the plan is great. And I keep on shaking my head because I was first generation college too. And there's never any help along the way. How do you get guidance? So, this working with employers adds to that in our area where we have so many first generation college students or first generation higher ed. The other thing is how complex this can be as it becomes its own college. And, excuse me, are you or how are you training your support staff to help you along with this to make this successful?
Yeah, great question. And that's what I refer to as the Learn Program Management Institute training that we had with the national consultant. All of our entire team went through that intensive week-long training system or institute and actually took the national exam and got the entire team certified as certified continuing education program managers. So they all have the common frame of reference. We all have the business model that we now can work and implement and develop together because of that training. It was a very intentional professional development investment that we needed to make in order to make this work.
Yep, awesome, good, thank you very much.
Is the mic open? Yes. Madam Chair?
Please.
I just wanted to say that I completely agree with the points that Member McAlpine just made. So I completely agree with that, and I've heard the same comments.
Thank you.
Oh, you bet. No, this is just appreciate your enthusiasm and your passion for this. You sit and look at it, how do we differentiate ourselves? Mohave County is a little county sitting up here. And when you start getting into economic development, what do you do to attract people to want to come here, businesses to come here or start up here? And it's the idea, instead of asking, hey, what can you do for me? You can show them, this is what we have done for others and what we can do for you. And to me, it's just, well, you've heard that phrase over and over again, a game changer. Yeah. Because it shows that, no, we are ready for you. Come and we'll help you to grow. And as you grow, we grow.
Yes.
I think, but one of the biggest things, which I'm so appreciative of Dr. Klippenstein for, is the idea and everybody working together is getting this college on a sound financial footer so that we can do things such as this. And yeah, it's going to take some time, and it takes, we've had you 10 months. And it's the idea of, look at this program that's being developed that is going to bless and strengthen the individual and then the community, and everybody's going to benefit from this. So thank you so much.
Yep. And I certainly echo the comments. The Energizer Buddy came to mind because you certainly have accomplished a lot.
He gets it from, who.
I think Kirk's his own man.
I have no comment.
That's okay, but I've already made mine now. But I would like to say that I think in the 11 years or 13 years I've been serving the board, there is always an intent, and you referred to that in your comments earlier, to do more out in the community. We didn't have either the manpower or the training or both to do that, and having you and your team and all the training you've had assures me that we will be successful with this initiative. Comment as a community member, I have participated in community ed programs since before I was a board member, and they've never been successful as far as enrollment. They've always been great programs. They offer and they work hard to do that, but there's never been, when I look at the enrollment, all 4 campuses or 3 that I've looked at, never been the support from the community that wants to do the different little interesting things. So I'm really hoping your focus is more on corporate education programs. And to me, I think that's where I am now, not where I am, but where I hope that your emphasis goes, because the community people have beat themselves to death saying, I'll teach photography, and nobody ever shows up. And so I think that's what I'd like to say, is that corporate ed to me is the initiative I hope that we really, really focus on. Thank you very much.
I can see this as a great opportunity. I mean, we've been known as the flyover state. California flies over us in New Mexico and goes right into Texas. And so I see this as a great opportunity for really making corporations look at Arizona, look at Mohave County. It's been notoriously known that, our people were not prepared to take a lot of these high-tech jobs. So I think it's really important and really exciting, and I look forward to seeing this be successful for our community and for our residents, and making us the stop instead of continuing on to Texas. So thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
if I may,
Please.
just two quick comments. One, this fits perfectly in with what Dr. Selberg mentioned earlier about what we saw from
Right.
ACCT with the speed of business, being in their space, not having them always come to us. I think this regional partnership development is what is needed and does meet best practice. And I do totally agree with Susan McAlpine in regards to the non-credit tracking and numbers that we will begin to now fully track our enrollment numbers from that perspective. So we have 4 credit degree program, certificate program growth, but also we need to start tracking these numbers broken down by career technical fields. So in order for the legislature to better understand what we're doing.
That's right. I heard our senator the other day, defund all the universities. Anyhow.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. You're off the hook till February, is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Unless I decide to call myself surprising. Okay, anytime right now. Pizza. Mark, are you ready to speak about pizza? I see you're back. All right. Whose head back there? Someone had a head.
I could talk about pizza all day, Dr. Silver,
Yeah, you could, huh?
Dr. Bear.
I bet you, well, you and I will meet for lunch when you do that. Anna,
Are we all set? No break?
well, I thought about that earlier and wrote in break.
I know, so I was,
Between Kirk and you, I did.
that's why I was a little slow.
I have it written down.
Certainly
here, and I
understood.
thought, well, I don't know. I looked through there. Didn't want you to think I wasn't paying attention to you. I was just trying to decide I think maybe that would be a good idea. A short
Understood,
break.
no problem, thank you.
Don't hit your head if you're
5 minutes.
5, that'll be fine. Or 4.5.
All right, try again. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Klippenstein, Dr. Culver. A pleasure to be here today to talk about enrollment as usual. As you all know, we are wrapping up our fall semester and that semester ends December 10th. And so I'll talk just briefly about what enrollment is looking like there. And then also, as you know, from the previous board meeting, opened up enrollment for spring as well as summer. Summer was a first for us, opening at the same time as spring, and have some of those enrollment numbers as well. So from a fall standpoint, are they able to, there you go. So from a fall standpoint, you can see that we're up 6.91% as of Tuesday. If you were to look at it this morning, we're actually up a flat 7%. So still climbing a little bit. What's interesting with that is actually it's because last year we had some activity changes more, possibly some drops or different behaviors going on. Our number of the 3,792 students, that hasn't changed. That stayed still for a while, but it's because last year there was some more activity going on. But like I said, we are up 7% in fall from this time last year. And then overall credits, if you look in the bottom, what is my left hand, I believe it'll be your right hand possibly, corner, you'll see that we're up credit count wise 9.91%. We're up about 10% this morning as well for fall. And then also looking a little bit at non-dual and dual, which I'll talk about for spring as well. For non-dual for fall, we're up 7%, and then dual we were up 6.25%. And again, those numbers have remained pretty still going into fall. So we expect to finish strong for fall. Kudos to staff and faculty, as well as students really working through fall semester with still some changes going on. As we go into spring, right now we are up 8%. From a credit count perspective, we're up about 40% or so. If you were to actually look at this morning, we are up significantly. So great in that aspect. We're actually up about 20% or so from last year. However, the reason that I specifically have dual and non-dual broken out is you can see where that huge incline is coming from, and that really is dual. So at the bottom middle of your screen, you'll see that dual currently, we are up 875%. That is a result of us hiring additional staff for dual enrollment. And so typically what happened in the past is we would have staff that was working the adult market a small amount of the time and working dual market a large amount of the time. They would bring back dual rosters, dual students, and it would take us a while to get those applications and their registrations done. This time it's not the case, excuse me, because we have staff to do that now. And so unfortunately, or fortunately, what we're seeing is most likely an artificial incline, significant incline. So it would be great to say right now, we have 300 plus students that we didn't expect to register for dual, that registered for dual, and that's where that incline is. What we believe what will happen is this will catch up to us at some point where you'll either see flatten or even a decrease depending on the activity that goes on in the schools. From a non-dual perspective, you can see that we're down 16%. And really what I'm talking about here for spring is true among all campuses. So you're seeing a large incline in dual and some decreases in non-dual currently, which advising is working hard to get a hold of students. That really seems to be the delay. Is phone tag, emails, things of that nature that are going back and forth for that. So again, up 8%, but if you look at dual versus non-dual at the bottom of the screen, as well as the 17 and under at the top right hand of your screen, you can see where a lot of our current enrollment is coming from, with the expectation that non-dual will see some significant positive changes coming up as well. So specifically for Bullhead City, you'll see that they're up 10%. I did not break down dual and non-dual for this. What I did is I did look by student location and course sections as well. So student location, and as a reminder, these are students that their home address is located in the Bullhead City area. We have those students as an increase of 10% compared to last year. If you look at the bottom left hand of the screen, you'll see that we are up credit count wise about 2%, 2.41%. But if you look at the Bullhead City course sections, so these are courses that are originating from Bullhead or on Bullhead campus. The students taking them may not necessarily be located on Bullhead. You'll see that we're up 26 to 27% in that course enrollment. And those courses are generating 2,700 plus credit hours, which is currently showing a 27% increase as well and going forward. Lake Havasu City also up about 18%. If you look at the bottom left-hand screen, again, it's about 1% increase as far as from a credit count, but it's still an increase. And then again, if you look at their course sections, this is where their courses are generating from, not necessarily the student population. You see that the enrollment is up for their courses about 95, 96%, with those generating about 2,600 credits. And again, there's about a 60% increase currently. As a reminder, some of this will be included with dual as well. Neil Campus Kingman, as of Tuesday, a little bit down in Kingman. However, if you were to pull up enrollment today, we are significantly up. And that is because on Wednesday, dual enrollment was entered for Kingman, which a lot of these numbers do not show. And so when I logged in this morning, my first thought was, oh my gosh, they must have entered dual in. And that's exactly what had happened.
I said, what happened when I looked at it? That's what happened.
So they had entered dual in on Wednesday, so we are now up. However, if you were to break this down by non-dual, we are still down, not as much as we were. So we're down about 15% non-dual. But again, you would see that number from Keenan, I believe, what I wrote down this morning. Specifically in the 17 and under category, we're showing that we're up 800+%. And again, that specifically is representative of dual. When you look at their overall credit hours, we were down as of Tuesday, about 5%. We are up. Overall head count, specifically with the course sections, up about 3%. And then those course sections, they were down a little bit as of Tuesday, showing about 1,200 to 1,300 credit hours. North Mohave does not have dual currently. So they don't have that filter, I guess, which you could look through in looking at their enrollment. However, with that said, we have made some changes to student registration. And so while we're watching their enrollment as well, for all campuses, we had registered nursing students early. We had also worked with students who were eyeing the nursing program and gave them some additional registration guidance this time. So while they do have an increase, we know that there may be some opportunities and challenges ahead regarding their enrollment as well that we're working through. As you all know, with the smaller population in North Mohave, their numbers way more so. So right now they're down about 8 students. I'm sorry, they're up about 8 students, showing about an 8 to 9% increase. Overall credit hours is about 11 to 12%. And then the course sections, those that are specifically generating from North Mohave, is showing about a 15% increase, with those credits looking at about a 21% increase with North Mohave. Bless you. Distance education online. When you look at this, the overall head count, again, these are students that their address specifically showed that they reside outside of Mohave County. So that's why, we're only showing 55 students. Currently, we typically do have a small population when you look at home address. We're down about 5% there. However, from a credit count perspective, we're up a little bit from these students. So about a 4% increase currently. DE online course sections, we are down about 23%. So this would be courses that maybe a student who resides in the Kingman area would take an online course. This is where they would show up in the course section count. So we're currently down about 23%. My thought would be, and Dr. Culver may want to weigh in, that may be from a scheduling aspect too, because of last year we were in COVID and a lot of our offerings were online. So some of this just may be a reflection of some of our scheduling changes as well. And so of those 775 students, there's about 3,900 credit hours that are currently being generated for spring from that population. And then distance education, these are classes like Zoom, possibly some sort of hybrid as well. You can see that we have a significant increase there by about 100 students currently for spring. And that's generating about 600 to 700 credits as well for distance education currently. And there is no dual reflected in this either. Any questions? I'm going to move on to summer.
I don't have a question, but maybe it's a question of clarification. We don't need to see all of this that I'm going to ask you about, but would it not be helpful for you, or maybe you're doing this because of COVID, to look at like 2019 and 2021, or take out those 2 semesters?
It's a great question. Actually, on the dashboard that we have that we're able to access at any time, there is a 2-year comparison that we can go back to.
Are you using that?
Yes. Yes, we are.
Oh,
Yep, to look at. 2019 was an incredibly strong year for us. It was the highest enrollment that we had seen in a while in consecutive years. So we do look at that from a student behavior standpoint. Again, Dr. Culver may want to weigh on this, or Dr. Klippenstein. From a student behavior piece, we're still trying to figure that out. What all of this looks like, what students want, where they want to be, what works for faculty and staff and moving. So we do have that filter that we're comparing to 2 years, but it's really us trying to figure out ultimately what all this looks like after hopefully getting over the hump of COVID. Dr. Culver, did you want to add to that?
I would just say our modality breakdown is about 55 face-to-face, about 42 or 3 totally asynchronous online, and 10 to 12, I hope that adds up, 10 to 12 synchronous. That's what our modality breakdown is for fall semester right now. We're still trying to figure out, based upon our student listening conversations that Dr. Klippenstein is leading, and our own work under a strategic goal 2.4, I think, what's the best mix? We are hearing nationally that students want that 10 to 12% of synchronous courses raised up to all of them. They want all their classes synchronous, right? But old guy says, how can that be okay?
yeah.
Right? And young people might say, that's okay, right?
Well, I'm a young person and I don't think it's okay.
So anyway, that's what we're dealing, that's what Ann is talking about. We're dealing with the what's the best mix, right? I want them all face to face. Old guy wants them all face to face, right? But that's not who's taking the courses, so.
All right.
Yes.
Oh, my question would be, and if it's not appropriate to address it now, somewhere down the line.
Okay.
What programs are driving the increases in Lake Havasu and Bullhead City?
So we also have a filter, and I can certainly look at that and provide that information to you. So we do have that information as well. One thing to note about the dashboard is that instruction and student services do have access to that dashboard, as well as the campus teams. So everybody can be able to look at that. We also have a funnel, which I won't get into too significantly at this time, but it specifically looks at applications that are being completed and submitted based on the area. It's either career and technical education, general ed and transfer, or health professions. And from there, we can be able to follow up on them in looking at that. So I can certainly provide that. I don't have that information in front of me.
I just think it would be a really good focal point when we're talking about workforce development. You know, what makes Bullhead City unique, what makes Lake Havasu unique, and what programs we have in Kingman that could become, you know, those big numbers drivers that is unique to us.
I will tell you, and again, I'll make sure to look at the dashboard, so I don't have data in front of me to support this. Typically, health professions in Havasu is a good driver of enrollment. And then, of course, career technical education in Bullhead. And even when you look at students that commute, you see that there are students commuting from our different cities or our different campuses to specifically take those programs in the other places.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Anna. I just realized, Ashley, do you have any questions or comments?
No, I do not. Thank you.
The picture just appeared a minute ago on my face there, so I can see you. Thank you. Anything else for?
I would just to answer Member McAlpine's question, the growth you saw on the screen today would be in general education mostly because that growth is representative of dual students, right? And some in CTE, but mostly general education. The answer to your question generally is health professions and students who want to get into health professions.
Okay.
So that's the answer to your question generally. Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you. Oh.
Summer enrollment.
Yes, yeah, I'm looking right here.
Summer enrollment, we are up or currently have 316 students. you see that we don't have any comparison from summer 2020, or really historically, you won't find a comparison at this time of year because we opened up registration so early. Typically, we do open it in April. So as we get closer to summer and hit that April date, you'll be able to start to see a comparison then in looking at summer registration, but we won't expect that until mid-spring. So currently 316 students are registered for spring, and that shows 1,300 plus credit hours.
We're 100% up.
Yeah. And then lastly, I wanted to follow up a little bit on first generation. Trustee McAlpine, you had asked specifically for some data. I do have more numbers, but this specifically focuses on a 3 to 4 year timeline on first generation population. Our institutional research team pulled numbers over about a 8 to 10 year period. Before that, we had some system transfers and a few other items that they did not feel like the confidence was there to provide numbers after that. But at any rate, as you can see, MCC's population from 2018 to current, even the past years I have before 2018, the numbers are right around here. I believe with the highest ever being within the time span I received was about 74% of first gen students at MCC. And then you can see the student retention rate as well. When I looked back and compared those, they were pretty good with our other student population, non-first gen students too. But that does follow up on your question as well from past. I hope it helps.
Thank you, Anna.
And then of course, first gen is among our underserved populations, so which also goes to the non-white area. And then we also focus on veterans, Pell recipients, as Dr. Culver talked about, 25 or older are the other populations that we focus on too and moving forward. And I believe that's all I have.
If you don't mind, I'm sorry. Sorry, Anna, I didn't.
No, you're fine. No, you're fine.
On that slide, Anna, you don't have to bring it back up.
Right.
The nice thing about what Anna is doing, and she just mentioned the 5 kind of categories of what we're looking at is underserved populations. And this kind of better quantitative data really does help us when we mix it with the qualitative stuff with the DEI initiative. So when we talk about working with our first gen, we're now looking at it from a different lens eventually. And so that's what I love, having these more number breakdowns, understanding the retention pathway. So if our first gen students are not completing at a rate of non-first gen, we can now better ask the question why, understand that, is it certain processes, policies, procedures, things we're putting in place that hamper, that may block that? Or is it better wraparound services? I think you mentioned that earlier, Susan. So that's one thing I really do enjoy, getting more granular with what we're trying to do with this data. So I just want to say thank you to Matt Butcher and the team, as well as Anna and her crew.
Thank you. All right, thank you.
Ms. Dixon? Mrs. Dixon, I'm sorry.
Whatever.
Miss Jenny is up, I call you, so.
Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Klippenstein, this morning as part of the Administrative Services Report, I have for you one update and one introduction. To start with the update, I have a little bit of information on the OSHA temporary emergency temporary standard. We just call it the ETS. A little bit of background, back on September 9th, President Biden, through executive order, issued mandates regarding vaccination for federal employees and federal contractors. That didn't affect us, but at the time they'd asked OSHA to come up with a comparable emergency temporary standard. OSHA governs employee safety, and an emergency temporary standard is something that can be put in place on a temporary basis up to 6 months. At that point in time, then we were just waiting to hear what would happen. On November 4th, the OSHA ETS was finally published. And the quickest 3-sentence way to explain it is that any employer that has more than 100 employees, that would be MCC, is required to mandate vaccines for employees or require that unvaccinated employees mask when at work and submit a weekly negative COVID-19 test to ensure the safety of workers. As soon as that came out that morning, Jennifer Burkhardt and I had a flurry of reading and highlighting and thinking, but maybe we put a little too much effort in, because by November 6th, the Fifth Circuit, a judge out of Louisiana, the First Circuit issued a judicial hold on OSHA implementing this, citing some concerns with the constitutionality of it. At this point, we'd just like to update the board with our plan for where we sit now, because we're in limbo and we're caught in the middle. We have developed a plan that would help MCC comply with the OSHA standard, and we're keeping it in our back pocket should we need it. At this point, one of the concerns is if that hold should go away, that we may be required to very, very quickly institute these OSHA standards. So we have a plan and we know what we want to do, and we're developing electronic tools and methods to do all of that. In the meantime, we're waiting to see what will happen. We won't implement a plan until we're told we have to implement a plan. As I've said many times, those of us that are, we felt the sting of the FLSA change to the threshold for salary to be exempt. And we thought we were so ahead of the game, and we changed early, and then we waited, and then we had to change back the other direction. And we don't want to do anything like that this time. Understanding that this is a personal and somewhat emotionally charged issue for many employees, that we're just waiting to see what happens and what we're directed to do. And at that point in time, we have all the steps in place to take action quickly if needs be.
Realize the actions, but do we have the test materials?
We are not required, the employer is not
So they
required.
have to go do it.
Employees have to go do it, yes.
And are they still doing it out in the parking lot?
No, Embry Health has moved off of our college campuses. I believe in Kingman, at least, Embry Health is in the parking lot at Centennial Park by the old fire station there. So I'm assuming they're also in the other communities at other sites as well.
Yes, it's really tough to get a test these days.
Yes.
Unless you're in the emergency room.
There will
you don't
be
wanna
some logistical nightmares.
Emory puts you on the schedule. It's not that hard.
Yeah. It's when every employer in the county with more than 100 employees send all these employees out to get tests, and looking at making sure that we know what days we're collecting and how we're guarding medical information for our employees, and all of those things have been taken into account and written into our plan.
My husband had 4 appointments at, I can't remember, Walgreens or CVS, and they canceled everyone 20 minutes before the appointment. So I don't know what's going on, but.
Emory can go online. I've not heard
Yeah.
any problems at all.
Good.
Are there any other questions about the OSHA ETS?
Madam Chair, if I may, I just support what Ms. Dixon just said. So one of the things that we're looking at in order to prepare our employees, of course, who may be asking the question, well, what does this really mean? Is during our employee listening sessions, we're providing this type of update, so they're familiar, knowing that we're not implementing on X date or in a holding pattern, but to allow them time to better understand, ask questions, and prepare if they feel like they need to prepare. So we're trying to get that out in front, but by no means saying on this date, this is when we're starting because of that holding pattern. So we're just trying to make sure that we're staying in touch with them as well.
Are all the community colleges in the state on the same page with this then?
No, this is part of the process. Is the crisis and risk management team met on, was it Monday? I apologize. So then they'll bring a recommendation to cabinet next Tuesday. I will be with the AC4 group on Thursday. So between the conversation with cabinet on Tuesday and the AC4 group on Thursday, I should have a good idea about, are we heading in what we believe is the right way for us to manage it, but also from a state perspective. So by next Friday, we hope to have, a week from today, a better confirmed process as we move forward.
That'll be in your weekly update then, there'll be some.
Yeah, I'll be able to provide that the following week for sure. I do know Maricopa and Pima they're moving forward because they have federal contracts. So they needed to implement much faster than there. The 8 rurals have held off waiting pending this.
Thank you. Thank you.
Moving on, I have an introduction to make. I am very pleased today to introduce our new Chief Financial Officer, Linda Green. Linda's in the room here today. Linda, this is day 5 as a bighorn for Linda. She started on Monday. And Linda comes to us with a really impressive history of financial management in the K-12 arena, which I respect because I have a lot of K-12 experience too, and there's a lot of crossover there. But most recently, she was the Business and Financial and Human Resources Manager for Mohave Educational Services Cooperative. And we're happy to scoop her up and have her join us as part of the team. She will be working with Brad through the end of Brad's contract with us as interim, which is December 17th. So this will be Brad's last board meeting with us.
I know what's happening because
He's got one more.
we're gonna miss you, Brad.
Linda will be taking the reins.
All right. Well, just before we welcome Linda, we certainly do welcome you, Linda. And I think we all met you during our Brad, thank you. It's been short but sweet. All right.
I'm out.
You are.
I'm still learning the
Well,
the dance
don't have to
steps.
spend any more time on it.
Just the treasure.
I got it, Erica. Erica, I have it.
Oh, it does say something. Sorry, I was just.
Yeah.
I have it.
We'll start with the.
Oh.
All right. Yeah. Madam Chair and members of the board, administration, as it's mentioned, this is my last board meeting. First was last month and today is my last. It will have been short. I have really enjoyed the hospitality and the grace that everyone's shown me coming on for this 3-month period. I can't not mention the work of the Financial Services Department, the staff there. They're tremendous people and work very hard. So I do want to compliment them before you. And I want to say I'm very confident Linda Green's going to do a great job for you. We have spent a lot of hours in the same office. Right now, we're sharing an office and we're talking back and forth across the top of the monitors, and Linda asked all the right questions. And so I'm very impressed with her thus far. My wife and I will be back to Arizona someday. We have now on our bucket list the Arizona Peace Trail.
Oh.
We've learned about that. We have got to experience that. So Arizona has definitely caught us by surprise, as the lyrics of a song that I like to say. The first thing I do want to mention, just in short, brief period, is this GFOA Certificate of Achievement and Excellence in Financial Reporting. So in the past, that's been put and will continue to be put in the comprehensive annual financial report in the front so that you're aware of it. But it's such a good accomplishment. I really wanted to bring attention to that to the board and not wait until the next annual financial report's presented. There is a compatible or a similar achievement on the budgeting side called the Meritorious Budget Award. And the history thus far for the colleges, the board approves a CCD, which is a 4-page budget report. And I certainly want to issue a challenge out to Linda for a few years down the road to look at that Meritorious Budget Award. I think it would be something that the college would really benefit from. That particular award leans heavily on the the connection to the strategic plan in budgeting and the connection to student outcomes. And so as the progress is being made by the team here in the strategic plan and in all the data that you've already seen a couple of years down the road, that will be a really nice marriage into the budget document itself. So encourage that. In the financial officer narrative, things that have been added for members of the public and staff is this narrative box, we'll call it, or narrative section, where the treasurer or the financial officer will try to, I would say, expect questions that would come in the future and address those in a narrative format. I do want to point out one piece of that was brought up earlier, and that is the interest income. So there was a question in the interest income box in the revenues about current month being $57. So there was a rough month for September in the investment pool, the 15 million in the local government investment pool. Just before leaving the office this morning, because that report isn't delivered to us until the 10th or after for the next month, I asked Dee Nipple, what's it look like for the month of October? And unfortunately, that month is a loss of $35,238. So in the explanation above, in saying that the investment area just did not perform well that month, it did not perform well in October either. Those are not investments that the college individually picks, and so there shouldn't be concern with that. They're investments made by the pool itself and those that manage those funds. So, excuse me, other changes in the report are columns that have been added to the right. You'll see both in the revenues and expenses, where there's now a measure to prior year, and it's expressed as a percentage, so that you can look at that and try to evaluate and see how we're doing from last year. Similar as I hear you do with enrollments, now you can do with your revenues and expenses as well. And I do want to mention thanks to Anna Masterson for, she has provided enrollment estimates to me, and we're working on budget timeline documents, and it's very helpful, the information that her office produces and the budgeting process as well. And then there's a small section at the bottom. It's a kind of a net. How are we doing compared to the revenues minus expenses as a whole? And you can see that for this month, we're just about $2 million more revenue than expenses. And so that's information you have. The final thing I'll mention on this page is a little bit of a glossary that was added so that you can see expenditure types and have a better understanding of what those types are. Going to the next page, I just want to mention this briefly to say this is a different visual perspective than we've had in the past. This shows year over year. It presently shows 3 full years. It will build out eventually to show 5 full years in history plus the current year. And it gives you just a perspective of all funds on hand in all types, whether restricted or non-restricted. It's not an assets and liabilities. It's actual cash and investments perspective. And things that will be added in the future to this would, an additional graph would be to break that total amount down into the areas that are restricted. For example, you have the reserves and local government investment pool for 15 million. There's unexpended plant, there's strategic planning dollars. So something to show how that total breaks apart so that it's known that it's not all available for expenditure for anything that would be chosen. And then the last page, just to mention a little additional information there. This page has been modified or added to show where all of the funds are by account, by bank account. And then a description that Dr. Klippenstein's request to describe what that account is used for, because there may be a question, why do you have so many accounts? I mean, isn't it a little more complicated than it needs to be? This explains the reasons why the various accounts do exist. So with that would be in my report. I do want to issue another compliment or state another compliment. I've worked with a lot of administrations in my career. I'm very optimistic about the direction the college is going and about the administration you have in place. Not to diminish faculty or staff, I just haven't worked with very many faculty at Mohave. And so I'm very impressed. And the questions that are being asked around the executive team table are great questions. And this recent one that was just mentioned the other day about tuition and fees measured by median household income. In my career, with a lot of presidents and a number of people on executive teams, and putting together a lot of tuition and fee plans, sometimes multi-year plans. I have never heard that question be asked. It's always, how do we compare to other institutions? But the question of how much affordability do we have within our community as a measure of that, first time in my career. And so that's the example of the kinds of inquisitiveness I think you have in your administrative team, and I've appreciated working with them. So thank you.
Thank you. Welcome to your input and welcome to your opportunity and activity.
Yeah, I'll spend some more money in Arizona later.
That's fine. And then does Linda have anything she'd like to say, or is that appropriate to ask Linda? Or?
Oh, well, I'm excited to be here and I look forward to working with everyone towards the mission and strategic plan for the college and being part of the successful outcome that I'm sure that'll bring.
Super. I think we welcomed you, so it was only appropriate to give you the opportunity. Thank you very much. All right, Jennifer Picard.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, President Klippenstein. I have 2 items and I will try to be brief. I know we're getting close to the end of the meeting here, so I thank you for your time this morning. I'd like to start with a brief discussion about a new federal holiday. So a little bit of background. On January 1st, 1863, President Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, which declared that all persons held as slaves within the rebellious states are and henceforward shall be free. However, it was 2.5 years later, General Gordon Granger, accompanied by 1,800 Union soldiers, arrived in Galveston, Texas, and announced General Order Number 3, which notified the last enslaved African Americans that all enslaved people were no longer in bondage. Juneteenth celebrations started on that date the very next year in the Texas African American communities. And Texas became the first state to recognize Juneteenth as an official holiday in 1980. In June 2021, bipartisan legislation was signed into law designating June 19th as an annual federal holiday. This is the 12th federal holiday and the first added since Martin Luther King Jr. Day was created in 1983. The vast majority of states either recognize Juneteenth as a holiday or have an official observance of the day, and the state of Arizona officially recognized the day in 2016. Per the legislation, Juneteenth is to be observed on June 19th each year, or the closest business day if it falls on a non-work day. In 2022, June 19th is a Sunday, so MCC would observe that on Monday, June 20th. The MCC 21-22 academic calendar previously approved by the board requires an adjustment to indicate the college would be closed on Monday, June 20th. In addition, the official start date of summer sessions 5 and 8 week would be moved from Tuesday, May 24th to Monday, May 23rd.
So that's how you pick up that day. Okay. We're looking for a motion.
Motion to amend the 2021-2022 academic calendar to accommodate the observation of an additional federal holiday.
I'll second. And seconded. Thank you. Any comments, Ashley?
No.
Okay, and I think Judy's in the car, so we won't ask her to comment yet. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you for explaining that, Jen.
Yes.
And your human resources report?
Yes, so it is my pleasure to present to you for review and approval the Human Resources Report for the month ending October 31st, 2021. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Motion to approve the Human Resources Report for the month ending October 31st, 2021 is presented in your hand.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Thank you, Ashley. All right, item 13 is recognition of board member retirement. And trustee Pasquale has agreed to share her thoughts with us.
All right, thank you. And Vance, I wanted to just say real quick before I read a statement that I wanted to thank you for what I've been able to learn from you since I came on board in 2019, and really appreciate your wittiness and your intelligence and just your commitment to public service. So thank you, Vance. Mr. Vance Miller was appointed to represent the residents of MCC District 1, which includes Hackberry, Peach Springs, Truxton, Littlefield, Wickiup, Colorado City, and portions of Kingman on November 30th, 2010. And he was officially elected to fulfill the term starting January 1st, 2012. During his tenure, the college has extensively renovated its existing facilities and added 7 new buildings to its campuses, including Legacy 2 in Bullhead, 100 Art and CTE building Lake Havasu, 200, 300 multi-purpose buildings in Kingman, building 500 in Kingman, building 600 in Kingman, the Beale Street Center in downtown Kingman, and a welding technology building in Bullhead. Mr. Miller was also involved in the development of the MCC Detroit Avenue Nursing Center in 2010. As a member of the board, he encouraged the advancement of numerous general education, CTE, and health programs, as well as supporting many student services initiatives. Mr. Miller actively took part in the college's 2013 comprehensive visit from the Higher Learning Commission and in the development and implementation of its 3 latest strategic plans from 2013 through 2025. Under the leadership of the board in the last 11 years, the college has paid off all revenue bonds, becoming debt-free. MCC has seen its cohort default management plan reduce its CDR from 36.5% in 2009 down to 11.3% in 2018. In 2019, the board successfully directed an executive search and hired MCC's 6th president. Shortly prior to his retirement this year, the college was approved to move toward offering NJCAA division sports for the first time in our 50-year history. On behalf of the current, former, and future students of MCC, its faculty, staff, and administration, the Mohave County Community College District Governing Board humbly thanks Mr. Miller for the magnitude of his public service to his community and to this institution.
Thank you, Ashley, for reading that to us and for us on our behalf. We appreciate it. Judy, are you in your car and do you have something you'd like to say?
Still muted.
You're muted.
Muted again. We're gonna read your lips. Just pretend, just smile, please smile. Just smile.
Somebody let him know.
Oh, Judy, you're muted.
No, Erica.
Okay. Sorry.
No, it's very.
It's hard on the cell phones between the mute on your cell phone and the Zoom call.
Look at her face. Tell me what you think she's doing. Well,
I'll call her.
She's fine. All right, we appreciate Dr. Selberg's comments. And Vance will phone her later to talk to her. Susan?
I just want to say thank you very much, Vance, and I wish you and your wife all of the best in your travels. And thank you for everything you've done for the college and the community and welcoming us as additional board members over the last few years. And all your patience in hiring a new president, which was one of the most stressful experiences we've had.
Hi, Dr. Selberg.
So thank you and best wishes to both of you.
Vance?
Yep, go ahead.
Oh, all right. I just wanted to say hello and wish you all the best and tell you what a wonderful mentor and collaborative board member you have been. You have really added to our depth of knowledge, and I'm just sorry that I can't be there today, but I'm there in spirit, and I'm gonna miss those lemon bars, Julie, I really am. And, keep in touch with us and let us know what you're doing and how you're doing, and, I know you're going to enjoy. So you take care, and Ashley, that was beautifully read. Thank you very much.
Read it.
Thank you. Thank you for calling in, Judy. Well, I'm going to offer my comments to Judy because I'm able to control myself and my tears that way. So I would like to tell Judy, on behalf of all of us and everyone in the community, I know what a sacrifice it's been for you, not only for his leadership and help with the governing board here, but all of the other activities he does in the Kingman community and other activities supporting by that. So I think it's going to be wonderful. The two of you are going to enjoy some years together, and not that you haven't before, but more time. Might be by next year you'll be telling him, why don't you go down to Mohave?
I've got my list made.
Yeah, I'm sure, not honeydews. But he's a wonderful person. We don't have to tell you that, but he has been just a wonderful part of this team and brought us together. And the voice of reason, I imagine he was that way in the family too. And knew when to wield that hammer, but
I worry about anything and he's just, you know what?
Yeah.
Don't worry about it if you can't do anything about it, or figure out what you could do about it.
Isn't that wonderful? And how many years have you been married?
49.
Wow. Did you have any comments you'd like to make? Mr. Miller?
I'm speechless always, you know that.
Yeah.
No, just when Ashley was reading this over, these weren't the things that I did. These are accomplishments that the people at the college did. I think that was the wonderful thing. I was looking back and thinking about this, and you probably say, well, gee, what kind of a life does he lead? This has been a highlight of my life. It really has. I just look back at what has been accomplished, the wonderful people that I've been able to work with, the things that I've learned, the things that Julie has allowed me to do and to develop myself personally. I tell people my hair on my arms are standing up now because of my emotions and just my love for this place. When we came the first time in '79, the college was just barely getting started. I mean, there was there was really nothing out here. The Neils that had done so much for Judy took a couple of classes out here. She's really got enough hours for a couple of degrees, but she's never really put them all together. But this has just been a marvelous time, a great time of learning and of being able to give back to this wonderful community. Kingman is just, it's always got a very soft spot in my heart. It's meant a lot to our family. We've never lived anywhere for 17 years. I've had to paint the house. We've had to remodel. I mean, we just move. And Judy's put up with all of that. And the deal was when we retire, she chooses. And we've got both our mothers are still alive. 5 of our children and 19 of our 24 grandchildren are down in the valley. So we've been called Queen Creek home. But we'll be back to Kingman, and Kingman will always be a very, very, very warm spot in our hearts. So thank you for your patience with me and allowing me to do this. And this was an experience to hire this man. And again, that was a growing experience for all of us. And to realize how we all came together on that, and we did. We were unanimous, and it was wonderful. So thank you for this time.
Well, our next meeting is in Mohave in January, and the table over here is filled with new people, and we encourage you to stay. Vance has a cake to cut also. And I have lots of little boxes for Judy to pack all this stuff up in. I told her she's taking it to Queen Creek. So don't leave much. Stay and have your lunch.
This meeting is
Adjourned.
Is that a motion? Just
Yeah,
double
we
check.
don't need a motion. Yeah, right, good. Thank you. Done, done. Well, you,